I'm your host, Josie Van Dyke, and I am sitting next to a married couple today, Maddie and Trevor OBRAY, everybody.
Yes.
Welcome to Weekly Trash, you guys. You are my first married couple ever.
Wow.
I feel like a therapist. Like we're about to do some counseling.
We're about to get deep.
Yeah. No, I love it.
No,
we're
really
honored,
excited to be here. Yeah.
This is so exciting. And you are cousins with my video girl, Carly. Like
Yes.
small world. So
I know,
crazy.
right? Especially this far away from where
Yeah.
we live.
Where she
Where
lives.
she
and
lives.
where she lives, especially. Yeah.
No, so she's like, that's so weird. My cousin's coming. I'm like, well, we got to dumpster deep dive them because you have a crazy story. And so it's going to be interesting because obviously I dumpster dive people separately, but I'm going to try to do it together, combined. So are
I'm
you ready?
worried. Matt's going to expose me here. I mean, if it was just me, I could
got lots to
moderate.
say.
Yeah,
but
you could keep the secrets.
I can't control this one.
No,
so.
we're going in deep. Okay, are
Deal.
you guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
do it.
Okay, where are you guys from? Today's episode is sponsored by Shed, the easiest way to start your weight health journey. You guys all know that I went through my own weight loss health journey, and so I'm excited to tell you guys about Shed. With Shed, it only takes 3 minutes to get started. You'll fill out a quick online form with your goals and health history, and their medical team will create a personalized treatment plan just for you. Everything happens online, no doctor's offices, no pharmacy lines. Your FDA-approved medication ships straight to your door. And the best part, you're not doing it alone. Shed pairs you with a dedicated member success team to help you track your progress and stay motivated along the way. Clinically studied treatments, no insurance required, and zero hassle. Get $100 off your first month by using the link in the show notes. Valid through May 2025. Shed is making health simple, effective, and actually doable. Thank you, Shed, for sponsoring today's episode.
I grew up in North Ogden, Utah.
Okay.
Way up north.
Okay.
Born and raised Utah. And he grew up in Layton.
Okay.
Yes.
Do
So
you even know where that's at?
Oh,
Up north?
Yeah, up north. Beautiful area. Love it.
all growing up, we grew up from Davis County, didn't even know there was another side of the mountain. So when we got past Salt Lake, it was like
Felt so
foreign
far away.
territory.
No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's funny. Were you guys raised similar? Like, did you guys have similar beliefs growing up? Similar households?
Yeah, we were actually just talking about this the other day. Like, it's actually crazy how similar we were raised and how
Really?
even like the same activities. We all loved to go boating. We loved soccer, sports. Now we love pickleball. Like, raised in the church, our faith is very similar,
Yeah.
I would say.
Well, and I would say our families were even friends growing up, which kind of gets into the story of how we met. But
Oh,
yeah, our families were very similar values. And it goes back to, I grew up playing soccer.
okay.
And Maddie has a brother who is my same age. And so he and I played soccer together for years and years and years. And I got to know him super well, knew his parents super well, and knew Maddie a little bit as one of my best friends, like little sisters.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, our connection goes back a long way.
What's the age gap between you two?
2 years.
2 years, yep.
Okay, so
2
nothing
years older.
huge, nothing crazy.
Nah.
What soccer team were you on? I played for Sparta.
Oh, did you?
I was a Sparta girl.
Oh, man. We might have to stop this now.
Yeah, game over.
No bad blood. I mean, it's I grew up playing for Rampage.
Okay.
And
cool.
then finished playing for La Roca.
La Roca.
at the end of my soccer days.
La Roca.
Yeah.
Maddie, did you do any sports or hobbies or anything in high school?
I played soccer as well.
You
all
did?
through high school.
Where did you play?
At Weber High.
Weber High.
Did you
Okay,
play?
did you play club?
We were just like our own, like Weber High put together a team basically, and
Oh.
like it was one of my friends' dads, and he just like coached us all the way up to high school, and like a lot of us were on the high school team. So
Oh, that's so
we were
fun.
called the Warriors.
The Warriors.
Yep.
I love it. So you guys both had
Exactly.
soccer in common.
Yeah.
That's
Yes, we
nice.
did.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So when did you guys officially start dating then? Did you serve a mission?
I did.
Okay. Did you were you dating before that?
The story goes way back,
Yeah.
especially for me because my love for Trevor started way before his love for me.
Did
He
it?
didn't know I existed.
Well, you
for
had a crush on your
years.
older brother's bestie.
Yes.
I get it.
Literally, I was like a big fan of Trevor back. I want to say I was probably like 10 years old, right?
Probably around
Like,
there, yeah.
when did you start playing with him? I don't even know. But I would like go to every single game, you know, to support my brother.
Right.
Of course,
It's for
I'm
your
such a supportive
brother.
sister.
Yeah.
And just because he had lots of cute friends, I don't think I missed a game, rain or shine. Like 8 a.m. didn't matter what time it was. Like I was there.
You have a poster just for Trevor.
I know,
You're like,
seriously.
Let's do
But
this.
I was the type of person like nobody knew Nobody knew for years. Maybe like a couple close friends. Wrote about him in my journal, literally in 8th grade.
Oh, I found my journal the other day.
him.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, the things you write.
The things you write in 8th grade. Like the world is ending if the love of your life doesn't love you back. It's crazy.
I love this person. I hate this person.
Yeah.
I probably put it out there like, oh, I would love to marry him, but never in my wildest dreams did I actually like think it would come true. But that was before he like, meanwhile, he didn't even know I existed.
I definitely
so.
knew you existed.
But
I'm
which is
gonna
almost
move a little bit
worse.
closer
Which
to
is
you.
almost worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then how did you guys become romantic?
We went on one date
Yep.
when I was 16, he was 18, but he honestly had a girlfriend through high school.
Oh.
And I kind of did my own thing in high school. Like he was at Layton, I was at Weber, and it wasn't until, okay, so actually senior year, I'm on my senior trip with my parents, and we're at this random shop, and they see a postcard, and they're like, you should send a postcard to Trevor. He's on a mission. I literally had talked to him like not at all. Like we went on one date, and I'm
Did
like,
your parents
how?
know that you like had a crush?
Maybe. I think they maybe hinted it, like they probably like picked it up, but I never like openly talked about it. But I think they all, like his parents were friends with my parents kind of, and they always kind of were like, oh, we should like get them together. Not so much an arranged marriage, but I think,
Yeah.
they were like, oh, I like him. He would be a good son-in-law, whatever. So they were like, hey, you should send the postcard to Trevor. I'm like, okay, that's so random. He's in the Philippines, gets a random postcard from this like random girl.
Yeah.
But I did it. I don't know if they bribed me or what. But anyway, sent the postcard.
I love how you're like a random girl. Like you're not that random.
Kind of
kind of
though.
knows
No
who
way.
you are.
I got this postcard and I was ecstatic.
Were you?
Yeah, because
How did you feel?
I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Like it definitely wasn't some random girl.
Yeah.
Like I remembered Maddie, obviously, and Jordan. And so, yeah, I was serving in the Philippines and I get a postcard and I was super excited to read it and hear of that, senior trip, going to Hawaii. We had a lot in common, right, with soccer and just a lot of similarities. So I was like, this is great. So I respond back to Maddie. We exchange a few letters, and each time I'm super stoked to get these letters from Mad. And we will argue this till the day we die.
Okay.
That I never got one back from her at some point.
It
I wrote a
probably got
letter.
lost in the mail. The
Yep.
Philippines is really far away.
Lost in the
Okay.
mail.
I don't know.
Yep.
Okay.
We wrote 2 letters to each other. Like, it's not like we were writing back and forth the whole time. It was literally 2
Yeah,
letters.
good
The whole
clarification.
season.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was a couple back and forth, but yeah, I was super stoked to get a letter from Maddie, and so that's we started to talk at that point. But really, the pivotal moment was after I got back from my mission. I recall
Okay.
very vividly giving my homecoming talk actually, and because I was friends with with Jordan and with Maddie's entire family, they came to my homecoming talk, and I was standing at the pulpit like during my talk, and I remember looking out and remember exactly where Maddie was sitting, exactly what she was wearing. There was a moment where I was like, wow,
There's a
that
halo
is Maddie.
surrounding her.
yes,
You're like,
yes,
That's my
exactly.
wife.
And it was like, wow, Maddie, that is Maddie. And so right after, they came up and talked to me, just right after my talk, and even then
Probably
I was
give each other a little side hug.
a
or
little
something.
awkward side hug.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And just remember thinking, yeah, I've got to get to know Maddie a little bit better, and did the very courageous thing and asked my mom for Maddie's number. And
Yes.
so I texted
I don't know
her.
how she got it. Was
I'm-
it from my mom? I still don't
Probably,
know.
yeah. And I texted her that night, and from there it just kind of started to snowball.
I was dying when I got that text. Too. I was so happy. I was literally
Were
like,
you single, like fully
Yeah.
single and like ready to, you're like, I'm ready.
yes.
So obviously you guys have known each other for a while.
Mm-hmm.
When you guys start dating, like how soon were you like, let's get married? Because in Utah, people get married pretty dang quick.
So fast.
Yeah.
We were not that type, surprisingly. Like I feel like most people within 6 months they're married.
Oh yeah.
But he came back in what, 2015? Probably.
2015,
We didn't
yep.
get married till like August of 2017.
Okay.
So we dated for like a long time, and I was like, I'm young, I'm independent, I'm doing nursing school, like I don't need a man.
Yeah.
But I still really like you.
I don't need a man.
And wow, that's changed a
Yeah.
lot because now I like definitely lean on you.
Oh, let me preface it with this story. Even after we were dating, or maybe even after we got married, Mad told me that when she, at that point of her life, wanted kids so bad, and so getting married was just kind of a way to have kids.
Yeah.
She's like,
You're
I want to
just
be a
so excited to
mom.
be a mom.
I want kids.
You're just like a
I
sperm
guess
donor.
I'll get.
Yeah.
I guess I'll get married
Yeah,
so that I can have
exactly.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you picked a good sperm donor. You guys
I
make
know.
beautiful children.
Thank
So
Oh, you're so nice.
good
Thank
idea.
you.
Good thoughts.
Yeah.
So you guys
funny.
get married, and then you guys traveled like a ton after you guys got married. What inspired that? Did you guys grow up traveling?
I feel like, yeah, do you want to go?
Sure. Yeah. I enjoyed traveling all growing up.
Yeah.
And we would go a few places here and there. Like we were not traveling, multiple times per summer. Like I said, we grew up playing soccer. So we'd travel from state to state playing soccer tournaments.
Vegas,
and then,
California,
Yeah,
Arizona.
it's exactly what it was. Yeah. But we loved Hawaii growing up. And so I would go with my family to Hawaii every once in a while. And so Maddie and I both have been super active. We like to go out and see new things. We like to learn about, different places and cultures and things like that. So we've all had the travel bug. Maddie especially. Maddie loves to travel.
I would go every single month if I could. Like I love to travel. And we travel like a decent amount as a family, but not like a ton. And so when we got married, I'm just like, I just want to see the world. I want to explore, like before we have kids, before we settle down, like let's just go. So we got to go on some really fun trips when we first married. Like we went to Maui on our honeymoon. We went to the Philippines. He took me back to his mission, which was super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hawaii again. Where else?
Went to Italy.
Italy for our baby moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super fun.
Yeah.
Did you graduate nursing school before you were married?
Yeah.
So were you a nurse at all during this time frame?
Yeah, so I graduated with my associate's degree a couple months before we got married. So I was working. It was perfect. I always told him, I'll work you through school if you work me through life.
That's great. That's a
that
fair
was
trade.
my thing. And so like I worked him through school. I'll let you tell your story.
What were you doing at the time?
Yeah. So my entire childhood, I recall wanting to be a doctor.
Okay.
And so we had a similarity there. She was in nursing. I wanted to be a doctor, but my first semester in college, I did an intro to pre-med class at the University of Utah and was quickly turned off to the idea of being a doctor.
Okay.
I respect doctors in a huge way, but it was not their career path for me. I recall, learning about just the amount of debt and the amount of schooling and all of that fun stuff. And so I pivoted into an even more glamorous field, which is accounting.
I heard.
And so no, I got back from my mission. I transferred from the University of Utah to BYU and didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I liked business in general and took a bunch of the pre-med classes at BYU, and BYU has a really good accounting program. And it turned out to be something that I had a knack for, and so decided to go the accounting route.
We love it.
Yes.
An accountant and a nurse.
Yeah.
Yep.
So back to your nursing.
Yeah.
So you were nursing at that time to get him through school.
Mm-hmm. And then I kept going to get my bachelor's. So I was doing my bachelor's and then working, and he was doing school too. So it was a busy time.
And then you had your first baby.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 2 years after we got married, we had Oakley. She's
And you
now
guys
5.
That's so crazy.
Crazy.
Isn't it crazy how it just
Oh,
flies by?
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's actually really scary.
I know.
Like I'm gonna blink and they're gonna be 16 and it's like no.
I know.
But you guys moved to Hawaii
yeah.
for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
didn't you?
Yep.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
we did.
I did my
100%.
stalking. I'm like,
Yep.
I feel like Hawaii seems to be like your guys' favorite place ever.
Yeah.
We
I would
love
say it's
Hawaii.
mine.
Yeah.
What island?
We lived on the North Shore of Oahu.
Pretty.
And it took some convincing. Like Trevor was like, it wasn't always his goal to move there, and it was like always my goal to move there. Like I'm
Really?
just like, I love Hawaii. Would love to just like live the beach life for a couple of years. And so after like a year, I finally convinced him. It was like COVID happened. He started working from home, and I was like, wait, I'm kind of like starting this social media thing. Like you're working from home. Let's just go be beach bums in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's expensive though. Like moving to
Oh,
Hawaii, it's
yes.
like, whew,
It is.
it's
Oh,
brutal
yeah.
out there. A gallon of milk is like $20.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
We like shipped our car, sold one.
Oh wow.
Shipped our car over, shipped one pod. I think it was just one
Oh yeah.
right?
Yep.
of stuff over, and then just like bought everything else.
Yeah, but it
So
definitely it took Maddie a while. I mean, I've always been kind of the planner type,
Yeah.
and I had a
Yes.
vision for what my career would look like, especially, and that was the biggest thing that we had to navigate was, am I going to be taking a huge step back in my career if all of a sudden we just pick up and head to Hawaii?
Yeah.
And so that's why it probably took, a year or 2 years. And it was, luckily the company I worked for had an office on Oahu. So
Oh,
like
no way.
if we had ever had to go back into the office, I could go into that office. So there were some things that aligned to make it possible for us to move out there. But wild ride to actually get out there in the first place.
Yeah.
And content creation, was that like a job at that point where you were able to make a decent income?
Yeah. So that's when I stopped nursing. I worked for 4 years as a nurse, and then I stopped just before we moved out to Hawaii because we were making more on social media at that point. We lived an hour away from the closest hospital. Like, it just made sense. Like, we were moving away from family, away from babysitters. And so, yeah, that's when I stopped doing nursing and then just did content creation at that point.
What made you want to get started in content creation?
I think I've always had a love for like taking pictures, editing, sharing our life, that kind of thing. It wasn't until we didn't start taking it seriously until we had our first daughter and just started sharing more about, pregnancy and becoming parents and family life. I wouldn't say it was like ever the goal. I would say I'm like one of the most introverted content creators out there.
Really?
Like, ask me to speak in church. Like, we have something, like
We can't, sorry.
I'm busy. Like, I never wanted my mom to take pictures of me growing up. I was always so shy. Like, it's just so funny that now this is our job. But yeah, it just kind of happened naturally, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say that Maddie she was so industrious growing up. I mean, even in nursing school, she had 2 or 3 jobs while going through school. One of those jobs was often modeling. And so she, at that point, had a love of, picture taking. And so she had a really good Instagram feed just because of that love. And so I think once there was an opportunity and once some pictures started to get a little more traction, when she started posting about, pregnancy, it really started to take off. And so luckily her platform was already a really good platform because she had focused so much on photos and things like that. And it just took off.
How did you feel about being behind the camera?
I was fine with it.
Yeah.
I like being behind the camera, and I like Mad being in front of the camera.
And how did you feel about being in front of it? Because there's the Instagram husbands that take the pictures, and then there's the Instagram husbands that actually create the content with their wives. So what was that like, having to start being in the content creation scene?
It was pretty fun.
Yeah?
I would say from the get-go, this is new, this is fun, this is creative. As an accountant, we honestly don't get a ton of creativity, right? Yeah. And so to do something outside of that and be more art creative, I thought was fun. Like Matt, I am not very extroverted. I'm pretty introverted, don't love a lot of attention.
Really?
And so, surprisingly, because
you guys seem very like extroverted. Like, you guys are so bubbly and so fun. So that's so interesting that you guys find yourself to be more introverted.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And I think when we're at least for me, it takes me a minute to get out of my shell. And then once I am, I really do like to converse and get to know people and do all that. But it's just naturally, I don't love a ton of attention.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
totally.
You guys live in Hawaii forever, but you ended up moving back at some point. Why'd you guys move back?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was not our plan to move back.
Yeah.
We initially thought we'd be out there for at least 2 years. We signed a lease on our house for 2 years. And after about a year, we were coming back to Utah just to visit family for about a month. We had a new baby. He was,
It was your
eight,
second, right?
9 months at that point. Yeah, I mean, when we moved out there, Mad was 8
7,
months pregnant.
7,
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but today's episode is brought to you by Bohm. It is finally warming up outside. Thank goodness. Spring is calling, and Bohm has the styles to answer. Whether you're on the hunt for a perfect Easter dress, a Mother's Day gift that actually impresses her, or denim that fits like a dream, Bohm's got you covered. Their spring collection is packed with effortless, wearable pieces that make getting dressed so simple and easy. Use code 20Josie, 20Josie, for 20% off your order. Don't miss out. Head over there now at bohm.com, BOHME.com, and refresh your closet now for spring. And don't forget to use that code 20Josie at checkout. And thanks, Bohm, for sponsoring today's episode.
8 months pregnant.
Yeah. And so I had quite a bit of paternity leave built up from work. So we decided, let's head back to Utah for about a month. We had a trip planned with my family. We were going to go on a Mediterranean cruise in Italy and just spend, a full month out in Utah. And super excited for it. We got back probably the end of June, I think, timeline. And while we were in Utah, my dad's health started to get it started to worsen. He started to exhibit some symptoms of vertigo and dizziness. And at first it seemed like this isn't that big of a deal. It was going to get better with just time. But it didn't. I recall pretty vividly on the 4th of July we were in the backyard of my parents' house doing a slip and slide, and my mom and dad had gone to the doctor. And that's when there started to be some concerns about my dad's health. And I mean, my dad was so physically fit, very healthy guy. And over the next couple weeks, his health continued to deteriorate. It went from just these vertigo issues to, gait issues, like his mobility started to diminish. And so it started to get a little scary at that point.
Sounds like it happened pretty quickly.
It actually, it really spiraled really quick. So in the matter of a couple weeks, he ended up getting diagnosed with a neurological disease called CJD,
I've never heard of that.
And I hadn't either.
It's so rare. It's literally like 1 in a million.
Is it genetic?
It can be, but not his.
Okay.
Luckily, it was not genetic. It's a disease that I think he's had for a very long time. That he may have just a biological issue with some of they're called prions in his brain, and it lays dormant for a while, but around the age of 55 to 65, it starts to present itself, and that's where all these symptoms come from. And then it's a very quick, movement from there. And so we come back for a month trip, and, all this happens while we're in Utah, which is actually pretty lucky. We were already planning to be here.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. So I remember pretty vividly, my mom and my dad and my sister took my dad to the doctor after he had had some scans done. And this was before we knew it was CJD. And Matt and I were staying with her parents, and we were down in their basement. And my sister has a nursing background, and she's pretty big into the research side of things. So she had, plugged all the symptoms into, Google, MD. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, and she came across this CJD. And at that point it was like, this is so rare. There's no way it's going to be this. It's got to be something more short-term. It's not going to be that big of a deal. But in this moment in Maddie's parents' basement, we got the call from my mom and my sister and my dad telling us that it in fact was CJD. And that's when everything kind of started to really hit me, that this was not just something that was going to get better with, time, but this was a disease that has no cure.
It doesn't.
That would just continue to get worse. And the timelines are somewhat variable. I mean, some say that they can be diagnosed with CJD and live to another 6 months. And so others can be very quick. And so at that point, we started to think, okay, what does our future look like? I mean, do we need to go back to Hawaii? Do we need to move back to Utah? I mean, what does the timeline look like? And it was pretty concrete at that point that whatever time we did have with my dad, I wanted to spend it in Utah. Yeah. And even post my dad, I wanted to be available for my mom, right?
Where are you in the lineup of your siblings?
I'm number 2 of 3.
Okay.
Yep. So older sister and a younger brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Middle child.
Very close. Like I mentioned earlier, Maddie and I both have very tight family relationships. And so we decided at that point that it was time to move everything back from Hawaii. So, I mean, this was probably 3 weeks into our trip, of our month trip that was going to be in Utah. And we decided, okay, this isn't going to be just a month trip. We got on a plane, went back to Hawaii, and in the matter of 1 to 2 days, packed up everything in our house, sold our car, and shipped everything back to Utah.
Was this 2022 or 2023?
2022.
2022.
Yeah.
So you come back home. Where were you living? Did you just rent a place here? Because did you guys ever buy a place here before going to Hawaii?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we were living right after Oakley was born. We moved into the home we built. In Layton. And then we decided we're just going to rent it out and keep that house. But we rented out for the full 2 years.
Okay.
So we asked our renters, we're like, hey, with the situation going on, like, would you be willing to like leave early? And they were like, no, sorry. We, I don't know.
They're like, no, we want to be here.
Comfy. We like this neighborhood. Like, yeah. So we just ended up living with my parents and then his mom.
And you were pregnant?
And no, we had already had Grace. So we had 2 babies at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you moved back home. What ended up happening from there?
Yeah, so we got back, and it moved pretty quick after that. I mean, we thought that maybe we'd have several weeks or months at that point, and we got back, and I remember the first interaction with my mom was we pulled into the driveway, and she comes out, and she's pretty emotional, right? And she says that, I mean, he's been waiting for you, right? He hasn't been super conversive. We think he's been waiting for you. And we get back in there, and we have some of the last conversations with my dad at that point about, you know, just sitting together around, you know, he's not mobile at that point. Lucid, yes, at times. There was periods where, I mean, dementia is one of the symptoms that they experience. And so we get back, and luckily we have some really good lucid moments with my dad. And it's probably only a few days after that before the final week of his life, which was spent in a coma. And so spent a lot of time in the basement over that next week and a half, just with my siblings and with my mom, and obviously with Mad, and just kind of enjoying the last few moments of my dad's life. And then, shortly thereafter, I mean, August 9th was the day that he finally passed away. So from the moment we got back and the symptoms started, which about the end of June, it was probably 5 or 6 weeks that it all played out.
I'm so sorry.
Thanks.
And it's hard when it comes so quickly, and you don't really get a second to even think about your grief, and then all of a sudden you lose them, and you have to feel all that grief all at once.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
Yeah, you really are thrust into all of those emotions.
Yeah.
It's challenging because you don't want a super long, drawn out, painful experience for your loved one, but you also want some time, right, to come to terms with what's happening. And so I do feel like we did have that. I mean, we knew the diagnosis, and so we were able to have that time of just saying your goodbyes, having your final moments, you know, talking about memories and all of the good times and thinking about what the future might hold. You're able to process a lot of that during that period of time. So I'm definitely thankful for. Would I have loved to have more time with my dad? Definitely, right? I mean, no one wants that. But yeah, I mean, processing all of the emotions was challenging, and it honestly doesn't happen in just that coping period. It took me quite a while to process all of those emotions and things you still deal with now. I mean, it's 2.5 years removed from then, and you still deal with it a lot. You're still trying to figure out what the new normal looks like and cope with all of the emotions.
I feel like in society, there's this mindset like men have to be strong and they can't show emotion. Were you able to like show emotion and grieve, or did you feel like you had to be strong because you have a wife and you have 2 kids and you have a mom that's mourning? And I think a lot of times men try to hide their emotions to protect everyone else and be the strong guy. Were you able to really express your emotions at all?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, because I did feel that way, right? That life was going to continue. I did have 2 kids. I had a wife that was so strong that could independently probably do everything I was doing by herself.
No.
But I would say I'm naturally a pretty emotional individual. I don't love expressing emotion, and Matt can attest to that. Yeah. But I do not like talking about feelings. But in those moments, yeah, I mean, I was able to feel and express and get through a lot of that. Luckily with Matt, who was always willing to offer was there to listen, right? And just let me talk as much as I wanted to.
Well, and it sounds like you still live pretty close to your mom, and you get to be there for her. How is she doing?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking.
Yeah.
She's doing well. She's a teacher, so she fills her time with, you know, teaching and church callings and working in the temple, and she tries to keep herself busy. But at the same time, me losing a father is very different than my mom losing a husband. Yeah. I mean, when it's a spouse, you have a life planned together. And so those were some of the initial conversations I had with my mom is, you know, they had what their entire future planned out, what it was going to look like. And then in the matter of 6 weeks, all of that is completely deconstructed. And you have to kind of work through, what does life look like now? And what does my life look like as just me and not me and my spouse? So there are definitely still hard times of navigating what life looks like now. But overall, every day I would say is better. Every year she gets better and better. And she's a great grandma, spends a lot of time with our kids. And so she's doing better.
Well, and she's very lucky because you guys seem like the best supporters, and you seem like you guys are a really good, close-knit family, and you need that when you go through losing somebody. You need to have a group of people that can just be behind you and lift you up when you feel so sad.
Oh yeah.
So you guys have 3 children.
Yeah.
So when did you have your third?
2023.
Okay.
So every 2 years, literally. They're
You're
all
just
about
popping them out.
So busy.
And
yeah.
part of me was like, why are we having our kids so close together?
Is that what you always wanted?
I mean, yeah, I always wanted like a big family, but I don't know if it was always like every 2 years we have to be having a kid. But I always just was like ready after about a year to like, let's do this again.
And I remember the first time
Yeah.
when we had been married a year and Matt started to bring up the kids conversation. And I've always wanted kids.
Yeah.
But I was like, whoa, is it time to start having those conversations?
Yeah.
It was quick.
Yeah.
And then the biggest thing in your life right now that obviously I want to talk to you guys about is you experienced having cancer and getting a cancer diagnosis as a father of 3, a husband. Were there symptoms? Were there signs? How did you get your diagnosis, and what was the diagnosis?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, this all happened at a similar time. Maddie gets pregnant, and he was born in November. And around the exact same time is when there were symptoms of cancer. Not something that we initially expected to be anything serious.
Yeah.
But I had a lump that I felt on my testicle. And at first I thought, this is not anything serious. I'm sure it'll just go away. And so I put off any action. And especially because we were having a kid. I mean, things were so busy. And
Were you aware of it
you're,
though?
like, so
did you
out of
know?
it. Yes, I was. And I was like, you need to go
Yes,
get it
yes,
checked.
she-
You're a cool
she
boy.
did.
I don't need to go to the doctor. I'm fine. It'll
Yeah.
go away. It's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt. And it was probably like 2 to 3 months until I was like, all right, we're scheduling.
You
your
gotta go.
appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And so where did you go? Did you just go to a regular doctor? Did you initially think cancer? Like, what was your thought process?
Yeah, no, I the whole time thought the chances of me having cancer at, 29, 30, very unlikely. I'm sure there's a ton of other reasons why this could be here. And yeah, that's why initially I thought this is for sure going to go away.
Yeah.
So January timeline, it was like, okay, this isn't going away. It actually started to get a little more painful. And so I just went to a primary care physician and said, hey, I've got this lump. I don't think it's anything, but figure that we should probably just take a look and make sure there's nothing to be worried about. And we kind of talked through some potential symptoms or potential treatments or what it could be. But he was basically said, we need to get an ultrasound just to be sure, right? And that's when things started to move very quickly. So it had been 2 months where, we didn't have anything happening. And then all of a sudden met with the primary care physician, got in for an ultrasound the very next day.
Were they concerned? Like, did they show a level of concern that scared you?
Not really. He didn't show much concern at all because I think there were a lot of alternative reasons I could have that. But I started to get a little more concerned just because I was trying to, again, self-diagnose, and it seemed like it was becoming more and more problematic. And it was really the ultrasound that really put things into perspective. I go to the doctor, get an ultrasound, and I remember being there and asking questions to the tech that was performing the ultrasound, saying, okay, so like, just walk me through what you're seeing as you're doing this. And they measured the size of it. And one of the biggest alarms was the characteristics of the tissue itself. And at that point, I asked, is this something that you'd be suspicious of cancer or not really? And they didn't say anything explicit, but said the tissue itself resembles, what we might worry is cancer.
Right. Because the tech isn't really allowed to say anything,
Right.
which isn't helpful. It's it's like you're in there and it's a long scan and you're just watching them and you're like, can you give me something here? And they're like, the doctor has to look at it. Doctor has to look at it.
Exactly.
So how long after that did you find out?
Well, you came home right after that.
Yeah.
Tears in his eyes. And at that point, I was just like, we just had a moment, huh?
Yeah. The writing was kind of on the wall at that point. So
you didn't know. When you got home, you didn't know for sure.
Like we had that feeling.
The gut feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even the person that was performing the the ultrasound, made a comment at the end about, hey, I'm sure this isn't what you were hoping to find out from the scan. And so, yeah, I go home to Matt. And at that point, while I'm not 100% certain, it seems very likely that this is more than just a random cyst or something that will just go away on its own. And yeah, I mean, that's where the weight really started to bear down on us. And so, again, it moves really quick after that. Within the next day or two, I'm scheduled for an appointment with a urologist who reviews the ultrasound and basically says, regardless of what it is, we need to remove the tumor.
Right.
And so we are scheduled for surgery the very next day. So
and your baby's how old at this point?
3 months.
3 months old.
Like
yeah.
freshly postpartum. You're probably not getting much sleep. You're in the thick of having 3 kids. Like that's a big jump, 2 to 3.
Oh yeah.
And now surgery's on the table and you're like, oh my gosh.
They're like the next day, and how concerned they were.
Yeah.
It was so scary.
It was.
Yeah.
So yeah, the next day they scheduled me for surgery, and then we go to the hospital next day and get surgery. And ultimately the surgery to perform it's called an orchiectomy, and they have to remove the entire testicle. And so you can't just remove just the tumor. I mean, the whole testicle comes with it.
And with that, I mean, you obviously have 2. Like I know anatomy, there's 2.
Yes.
But was there any thought in your head, like, is this going to affect us having kids? Like, should I hurry and go freeze sperm before this surgery? Like, did they say anything to you about
Not at that point though, not the orchiectomy, because they always say the other testicle can like
still produce enough.
Yeah, can produce plenty for both. So it's like it doesn't affect you at that point.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So at that point, we're just like,
so you're like, okay, yeah, just get rid of it.
Yep. And he woke up out of surgery. I still remember he's like making jokes about having 1 ball.
I have 1 ball. I love it.
Yeah.
Find some comedy, some humor.
You've got to.
You got to.
And,
Some dark humor.
It is, yeah. And I mean, I've got a brother and a brother-in-law, and it's a heyday when we all get together. Yeah.
I'm sure.
And everyone's a little bit like, okay, is it time to start making jokes about this? Is it too soon? But we got past that pretty quick.
I love it. That means you have a good family if you're able to crack jokes like
that.
No,
yeah, 100%. Sure. Yeah, like I recall my birthday was on February 2nd.
Okay.
And it was, I think, did I have surgery on my birthday?
It was on your birthday or like the day before or something.
Because you announced it on Instagram.
On his birthday. That's true. So it was probably the day before.
You were like, this is not what I was expecting for a 30th birthday announcement.
Happy birthday to you. Everyone says your health goes down at 30, and wow.
That was
really
true.
Hard for you.
Yeah.
And at that point, who knew in your life? Was it just like immediate family? Did you kind of tell friends? Like, did everybody know?
There wasn't a lot of people. I mean, it did move so quickly, right? All this happened in the matter of like a week, really. Yeah. And so at first it was just us, and then we told my mom, and then siblings, and then at that point it was really just close family that knew, and then it was through social media. But I recall for my birthday, my brother-in-law got me a bunch of golf balls. I'd love to golf, and his joke was, now you can go lose a bunch of more balls on the golf course. And it's like, it's constant. We are constantly cracking jokes about the single testicle. And
I love it.
Yeah.
So you have the surgery. They obviously test the lump.
Yep.
And it came back cancerous.
Right. Yes. And there's a couple of ways it can go at that point, right? There's multiple types of cancers, of testicular cancers. And I mean, the first characteristic is whether it's called seminoma or non-seminoma, really just looking at the cell type. And one is better than the other. Seminoma is typically more treatable than non-seminoma. And so going into this, we were, okay, yes, we have very likely it's cancer, but if it is cancer, let's just hope that it's the seminoma kind of cancer. So it probably took a week or 2 to get the lab results back.
That was probably a really long week.
Yeah, a very long week.
Yeah.
And wasn't a surprise that it did come back cancerous, but unfortunately it was the more serious type of testicular cancer. It was the non-seminoma.
95% non-seminoma.
Yeah.
That's definitely not what we were hoping for.
Yep. And then even within the non-seminoma classification, there's further classifications. And so the one that I had was known to be somewhat aggressive, fast spreading. And so, not a little bit deflating, because then immediately it goes from, okay, we did one surgery and we know it's cancer. We know it's fast spreading. So has it spread anywhere else? So that was the next immediately how do we determine if we've got it all or if it has moved elsewhere in your body? And that's when they set you up for CT scans. So shortly after that, I went in to have a CT scan of my chest, my abdomen, my pelvis area, because there's a very common path that testicular cancer follows. If it's going to move, it most likely will move straight into your lymph nodes in your abdomen. And so that was the biggest concern. So we did a CT scan of my abdomen, and again, the longest waiting for these results to come back. Yeah. And we got a call from my doctor to say, hey, the results are in. Let's bring you back into the office. And in the meantime, I got a call from Huntsman Cancer Center, and they were like, hey, we got a referral from your urologist to get you scheduled. And at that point, we had not talked about the results yet.
So they had prematurely reached out to Huntsman.
So hey, just so you know,
there's information.
We thought it could be end of the road. Like, yep, we got it all.
Like, you're cleared, we got it all.
Good. But then we get this call from Huntsman, and we're like,
oh.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit more serious than we were hoping. Mm-hmm. So we go in, we review the scan results, and there was some lymph nodes that were not crazy large, but were right on the brink of being concerning. So the natural size is about 1 centimeter. If it's less than 1 centimeter, not too much to worry about, but I had a couple that were right on the cusp of 1 centimeter. And so at that point, my urologist said, we need to get you to a more, prestigious cancer facility to start working through this.
And I'm sure that was a really hard day. Do you feel like that day was harder than even finding out it was cancer? Because
maybe
that's scary.
So. Yeah, I think so. I think going into it, we knew that, cancer could be just one surgery and then we could be done. Really, from the moment that we had found out that it was likely cancer, we had talked to some individuals that, about their journeys with testicular cancer. And I only had to have an orchiectomy, and that's all. It hadn't spread at all. Because when it spreads is when things start to get a little bit more serious. Luckily, testicular cancer has come a very long way in the last few decades. It used to be that you're diagnosed with testicular cancer, and 1 in 2, right, don't end up making it through the testicular cancer diagnosis. But
really, I didn't realize it was that serious.
I think it was like the 1970s that they came out with the chemo regimen, right?
Yeah. And I'm not 100% sure on all the exact dates, so you might have to fact check some of this stuff. But generally speaking, that's where it was. And so I would definitely say that this was even more scary, I think, than the original cancer diagnosis, because this meant, there's potential more surgeries, there's chemo on the horizon. And so not knowing what that looked like and that's really one of the hardest parts of cancer. Just the word cancer carries so much weight, and it's almost more the mental game and the uncertainty of what's going to happen that makes it so taxing.
Well, and you even said with the Hawaii thing, how you're a planner, how you like to plan. And
oh, yeah.
And this throws off the plan. This throws off what you guys, pictured life to be like with 3 kids. Now you have a cancer diagnosis. So you didn't go the chemo route, correct?
Correct.
So what was the game plan after you found out that it had spread?
Yeah, it was crazy because once in January, things went so fast. It was, we found the tumor, let's get you in for surgery, let's do the scans. Everything was within a matter of days. Yeah. They told us that testicular cancer patients kind of get priority because of how quickly it spreads. And then once it's referred to Huntsman and we started looking through imaging, things started to slow down a lot just because they don't want to act too hasty. They don't want to jump into a treatment plan if they don't know for sure that it has spread. So I had these couple lymph nodes that were right on the cusp of being too large, but then they wanted to wait 2 months in between scans to see if they changed size, because that's really what was going to tell us if it was cancer, if we needed to do further treatment. Was if it's 1 centimeter now and it's bigger in 2 months, there's something that we have to do. And so 2 months go by and we're just kind of twiddling our thumbs, trying to go on with life. Really, we had some vacations planned, which is great, but really trying to just continue on. But after 2 months, we get another round of scans, and it had grown a little bit. I mean, not significant, but enough to say this is very likely cancer, and we need to talk about future treatment plans.
How are you feeling? Sorry to interrupt, but like
No.
physically, how are you feeling? Like, do you feel healthy? Do you feel sick at all?
Which
That's
is
the hard thing about cancer is literally besides being tired, but we just thought that was just life with
just
3
having
kids.
3 kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like that's
Like you said, you had a 3-month-old at that time. Like you're tired.
Yeah. And yeah, I honestly didn't have any other symptoms. Like, had they not scanned my abdomen, I would have no idea that the cancer had spread to my lymph nodes, which is also kind of scary because, you know, it could continue to grow until it's so large that your treatment plan is much more complicated at that point.
Yeah.
So luckily we were able to continue on. I was able to continue working. I didn't really affect our home life besides, right, the mental element always in the back of your mind as to what does this really look like?
Yeah.
Yeah. So from there, we are 2 months in. We know that lymph nodes are growing. And so there's basically 2 schools of thought as to the path that you can go down. It's either you try for surgery again, and you go through what's called an RPL&D surgery, which they cut you open, cut your abdomen open, and try and surgically remove any lymph nodes that appear to have cancer in them.
Gotcha.
Alternatively, you go the chemotherapy route and just start on a certain number of rounds of chemotherapy. And I, from the very get-go, wanted to avoid chemotherapy at all costs.
What was your reasoning for that?
Really, it was just there are side effects associated with chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And they've found over the last 30 years within testicular cancer that you're at a higher risk for heart disease. You're at a higher risk for secondary cancers if you do the chemotherapy route. And where testicular cancer is often in men around 30, those symptoms are often 30 or 40 years out. And so in some cancer patients, you don't really see that because the average age of cancer may be older, right? I mean, if you get it at 60 or 70, you're less likely to have any of those side effects. But where I was 30, getting chemotherapy could mean at 60 or 70, maybe 60, I'm at a higher risk for heart disease, at a higher risk for secondary cancers. And so really if there's any possibility of going a different route, I'm going to try and explore that route.
Yeah. Did you grow up in a home that did any holistic things like try to be more natural medicine, or was your family you wanted to be a doctor. So
Sure. Yeah.
So like, cause I know a lot of people when they get cancer diagnosis, they're like, I want to do it a different way. I want to do it this way. I want to be more natural. I want to try to figure it out a way out of chemo. Did that have any play into it? Or was it mostly just like, I don't want these side effects?
It was mostly that.
Gotcha.
I'm a very logical thinker. And so to me, it was, if there is a way to try and avoid these long-term side effects, I want to try and go down that road first. Mm-hmm. And I'm really not, anti-chemotherapy.
Yeah.
I think chemotherapy in a lot of cases is the best treatment option in some cases. But in my situation, there were some alternative options that I really wanted to explore. I wanted to try everything that I could possibly do to either do it through surgery or do it through lifestyle changes before I had to go down that road. Yeah.
Maddie, did you agree? Were you on board with that?
Yeah, it scared me a little bit just because the rate at which you could cure it is very, very high with chemo, and the surgery for his specific type, they usually do chemo.
Right.
And so that it scared me a little bit because they can do the surgery, remove the lymph nodes, but what if it's elsewhere in the body?
Right.
Chemo is a little better helping systemically, where this is a little more hopefully we got it all. So there were definitely parts where I was nervous about it, but I was always I'll do what you want to do and I'll support you. And it was a good decision.
Sorry to interrupt, but today's episode is brought to you by Spearmintlove. Mamas, have you seen the latest drop from Spearmintlove? Their new floral collection is here, and it's absolutely stunning. Think matching sunsuits and dresses made just for baby girls all the way up to 6 years old. Perfect for brunch with the fam, the upcoming outdoor wedding, or a sunny day at the beach. We're talking picture-perfect florals that instantly elevate her look without breaking the bank. Soft, breathable fabrics, thoughtful details, and styles that move with your little one. Because cute shouldn't mean uncomfortable. So if you want her to feel like a little flower queen this season, check out spearmintlove.com and grab your favorites before they bloom away. You can use code WEEKLYTRASH at checkout for an exclusive discount. Thank you, Spearmintlove, for sponsoring today's episode.
Yeah. Maddie
decision.
she was always a very good support system. She was at all my appointments, and she was always there as my number one fan. And that was a huge help. But yeah, I mean, like Matt said, there was a chance that if we went the surgery route, we would just have to do chemotherapy anyway.
Yeah.
And so it's like, do we really want to go down the surgery route? If there's a chance, I'd have to do that anyway. And ultimately decided, let's try it with the surgery route and see what happens.
So when did you have that surgery?
Early June of last year.
Okay.
Yeah. So 2024. Yeah.
So after that surgery, because you just announced on Instagram that you're in remission.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Huge.
Yeah.
But I mean, the surgery was almost a year ago. So from the time you had surgery to now, what did that look like to get to where you are now?
Yeah. That's a good question. I mean, because it's been quite the road, especially right after surgery.
Yeah.
I mean, this surgery is far more intense than my first surgery. I am under for 5 to 6 hours.
6-hour surgery, and then I didn't see for 2 more hours. It was like an 8-hour day, longest day of my life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they come back, and the surgeon tells us it went very well, although it did take quite a bit longer. There was just a bit more than they had anticipated. And so we were happy with the result, but I mean, recovery after surgery was not great. I mean, I had this huge incision basically from my sternum past my belly button. And so spent 6 days in the hospital where could not use my abs whatsoever. And moments where I couldn't get out of bed. Maddie would have to help me, grab me, bear hug me, and then help pull me out of bed, stand me up, and then help me walk to the bathroom and do all the just basic things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the diet. He had to eat a no fat diet.
Okay.
No, 0 grams of fat.
Yeah.
Why was that?
Because the lymph nodes help digest and process fats that are in here. So if you eat them, it's just going to cause you to be super bloated, super sick. Mm-hmm. I don't know, basically that.
That's a hard diet to follow. Yeah. What'd you have? Just applesauce every day?
Basically, yeah. And even very lean meats have a little bit of fat. So even chicken, I had to be very limited on how much chicken I had, but it was kind of started out with 0 grams of fat for the first week. And then it was you can jump to 5 grams of fat, and then you slowly increase it. So that the diet, that was one to get used to. During that period of time, I think I lost 20 pounds in just that 1 month.
Yeah.
What did your kids know? Did you have conversations about your health with them, if any?
Yeah, we had conversations with them. They're still so young.
Right.
5, 3, and 1. I would say Oakley probably knew the most. I don't think they fully understood. They understood you were sick. And during their prayers, they would pray that his cancer goes away.
Yeah.
But other than that, I feel like they just knew he was sick, and they got to spend a lot of time with grandparents, which they loved, honestly, but just prayed that it got better. Yeah. I don't know exactly how much they actually grasped what was actually happening,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're on the no fat diet. You're just trying to live a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. And that's where it kind of gets a little bit complicated is after about a month, we get the lab results back from the RPL&D surgery. And this is where we determine, are we good with just surgery, or do we need to go the chemotherapy route as well? And like I mentioned, it turned out that there was a bit more there than they thought. And so
they took out I want to say 60 lymph nodes, and most of them had cancer in them, which was way more than they were expecting.
Yeah, and one, it was upwards of 5 centimeters. They didn't see on the scans initially, but just the way that the scans were structured didn't catch that this was up to 5 centimeters. And so at that point, they refer me to an oncologist, because the standard practice is if it exceeds a certain size and a certain quantity, that they recommend you do chemotherapy. And so we go and meet with the oncologist, and that's basically their conclusion is, yes, you had an RPL&D surgery, but we recommend that you start chemotherapy. And it's not just 1 round, it's 3 full rounds of chemotherapy, which would end up being about 3 months worth of chemotherapy. It's, 1 very strict week, 2 less strict weeks and then a break, and that's 1 round. So this is where it kind of got more complicated, because now we're at this position where, okay, we've done everything surgically we can. We have one oncologist now telling us that we should go and do chemotherapy. And at Huntsman, they have a care team, which is really nice. I mean, it's not just one doctor telling you this is what you should do. It's, if there are any subjective elements, they'll put it in front of a tumor board and say, hey, let's get opinions from everybody here as to what the approach should be. And even after taking my case to the tumor board, they came back and recommended that we start 3 rounds of chemotherapy. And so at this point, we are just deflated, thinking
I'm sure.
we
Why did
do
we
this
do the
surgery. Yeah, I mean, we have to go
Should've
chemotherapy
started
anyway.
chemo.
And so we're on track. Okay, let's start thinking about chemotherapy. We got on the books for when I would actually start infusions, and what it would look like logistically, how I was going to get there, and what does this look like for my work schedule, and how do I work this out with our busy schedule. And it just didn't sit right, really. And so we decided to get a second opinion on what the best approach was. So Maddie had several people reach out that had testicular cancer and had experiences with this, and recommended a doctor that is very well known in the industry, actually helped pioneer the current chemotherapy regimen. And so we got on his calendar, kind of put all the facts in front of him. And
Do you mind sharing who it was?
yeah, his name is Dr. Einhorn.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was Lance Armstrong's doctor, because Lance Armstrong also had testicular cancer.
Okay.
Crazy.
Yeah.
He lives in somewhere on the
Like
East
in
Coast.
Indiana
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got in his schedule, and super nice guy, like totally willing to talk to us and look at my case, even though I'm sure he's inundated with people wanting to have his opinion on these different things. And so, but send him all of the scans, all of the results of everything, and he came back and basically said, you just had a surgery. They did scans on you post-surgery, and there's nothing visual that we can see that is cancerous. Yes, there's a risk of microscopic cancer cells that may have spread further into other organs. However, until you know with a certainty that there is something to treat, I would not recommend starting chemotherapy. And so that was, completely
We
a
were
different
supposed
direction.
to start that Monday.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember, and just being terrified, like ecstatic, but terrified at the
Yeah.
same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
Like,
this
we're
is
gonna
like
do
Friday.
nothing. They just told us to start chemo, and we're gonna do nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was scary to then tell
Yeah.
your doctors, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're actually doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause-
Everything you said,
Yeah.
we're actually not
Yeah.
doing any of that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. And
But they also really respect Dr. Einhorn, because when we brought up that we had talked to him, they were like, okay, if he recommends this, then they have so much respect for him. They know him that they're like, okay, we respect that. They were good about it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
they were good.
Yeah.
During some of our original visits, they basically just said that they would not feel right if they didn't, with certainty, take care of the cancer. I think that's where they were coming from, is the most likely way to ensure that you are cancer-free is to do chemotherapy. That way we can be certain that there's nothing left. And I guess we were just of the opinion that let's monitor, let's not do anything quite yet. And then if push comes to shove and all of a sudden it's gotten far worse, then we can start chemotherapy at that point. But in the meantime, let's just see what we can do on our own. Let's see if there are some lifestyle changes we can make. Let's see if, there are just, different things. Let's get opinions from people that have done this, and make some changes in our own life.
So what were some of those changes?
We totally cleaned up household products. Trevor started doing hyperbaric oxygen chamber,
Okay.
high dose vitamin C drips, cut out basically all processed foods, no sugar, juicing like crazy, celery juice, carrot juice, he
No
was
Dr.
a Dr.
Pepper.
Pepper every single day kind of guy.
Okay.
He was I love my meat, my fries, not that you were unhealthy before, but definitely it was a huge 180, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah. Maddie leveraged her network and we got just a ton of recommendations and we kind of just tried them all out.
Supplements, all the things.
Yeah. So yeah, it was like meats. It was definitely no red meat. So we went on just like, fish or chicken for quite a while. There were no grains, basically. No white flours are some of the things that we tried to do from a dietary standpoint. Any excess sugars, like Matt mentioned, we did do fruit. So like the natural sugars we kept, but it was a pretty dramatic dietary change for quite a while. And that it was ultimately like a really good thing. Like it's amazing how my body just changed what it craved. And every once in a while, after several months, I would say, okay, I'm going to have like some white bread, and it would cause some weird, reactions from my body. Yeah, exactly. So it was a big shift in diet.
Okay.
I've always had a love for juice, and he like never understood that. But then literally after all this, he like said he craves carrot juice and celery juice.
Which, who would have thought?
That's crazy, because that's poison to me. That stuff's nasty.
You're like, give me chemo.
I'm like, come on, let's go.
straight to the vein.
Celery? I don't even like celery with peanut butter.
I don't either.
Let alone celery juiced up. No, thank you.
Yeah, and I actually don't even like celery either, but for some reason, I have acquired a love for celery juice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do have a question just about your guys' marriage with a cancer diagnosis. I know it's really hard for both of you, but being the spouse that doesn't have cancer and watching your loved one go through pain and surgeries, and there's nothing you can do to fix it. Was that hard on your guys' marriage, or did that make you guys closer?
It was definitely hard to watch. Like I remember telling him so many times, like, I wish it was me.
Yeah.
I wish it was me that had the cancer and I didn't have to watch you go through this, because it was honestly the worst, especially that like surgery and him having to like, I don't know, not relearn how to walk, but just seeing him go through these like really hard times and not being able to do much other than here's your water, here's some food, here's your fat-free food.
Yeah.
It was actually really difficult, but I would say it brought us closer as a couple, because like there's nothing I wouldn't do for Trevor to help him. And he was like a rock star. I don't think he complained one time through the whole entire thing. And there were times when I was like, why me? Why us? And he the whole time like was just had the best eternal perspective on the whole thing. And it was actually really incredible. But I would say it brought us closer as a couple for sure.
On the topic of faith, did you lean a lot on your faith during this diagnosis?
I did a lot.
Yeah.
And part of it goes back to my dad passing as well. I mean, in the period of 2 years, really, we had quite a few major changes, and it can be an inflection point, really.
Yeah.
When you go through something serious like that, it's your back is really against the wall to say, okay, you've learned these things, you've been taught these things. Do you really believe what you've been taught at this point?
Because I feel like, sorry to interrupt, but
No.
you guys seem like very good people. You seem to live
Thank you.
the word of the gospel. You're very active in your church, and you think you're doing everything right. And so when these bad things happen, I feel like it'd be very normal to question and be like, is this even real? Like, that would be really difficult.
Yeah.
Totally.
And you're exactly right. I had definitely had those thoughts, especially about, my dad first was if anybody deserved not to have something like this occur to them, it was my dad. I mean, extremely healthy from a physical standpoint, but also just, and I'm biased, but just one of the best individuals that I know.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, very active in the community and just a super good individual. And so there were those questions as to, hey, why of all people, why does it have to be my dad? And then we go through a similar experience with cancer. I mean, we just went through something that was so challenging. Like, why are we now going through this when we have 3 kids, we're young, we're trying to navigate life? Like, why now this? And there were those moments of like uncertainty in terms of, why is this happening to us? And one of my favorite quotes is, there's no growth in the comfort zone and there's no comfort in the growth zone. And I recall thinking through that quite a few times during these different challenges if every prayer that I prayed was answered, my life would be very comfortable.
Right.
But it would lack growth. And so there was a period of time where you got to choose. I mean, do you want comfort or do you want growth? Are you going to rely on your own understanding and what you think is best? Or are you going to take the challenges and learn from them and become a better person, right? Is your inflection point going to make you, more angry? Is it going to take you away from the things that you value, or is it going to help you become better and better? And that's what I've tried to keep that in mind. Obviously, not always perfect, but how can I take the challenge and turn it into a growth opportunity, and just be a little bit better from that.
Yeah. Did you feel the same, Maddie?
Yeah, no, there were definitely points. I would say especially in the beginning when it was like, okay, he has cancer, like, please bless that it's this type of cancer. And then it was the other kind of cancer. And then it was like, okay, well, he had the tumor removed, like, okay, God, please, like, not let it spread. And then it spread. I just feel like especially at first, it was like bad news after bad news after bad news. And we were having so many people fast for us and pray for us. And part of me was like, if we're praying and we're doing like everything we're supposed to be doing, like, why is this not helping? And then I guess it just hit me that, like, God's never going to give you something that you can't handle. And so, like he said, I think we've just tried to, like, learn from the experience of, like, why we're going through this. Is it to, like, help other people? Is it to just, like, strengthen our own faith? But I just think we're trying the best we can and doing the best we can with it. But I do feel like there were times I was like, why God, for sure. But I don't think it ever made me turn away from God, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So you change your lifestyle. You're trying to be healthier. The most recent scan showed clean. So did you have any other scans in between this one?
Yeah, I did. So right after surgery, they got on an every 2-month scan. Okay. And so the most recent one prior to this one was in December, and things were looking good. We did have a couple scares along the way.
Okay.
Where we would get scans, and the first one was a lump of some sort on my liver. And that's another hot spot for the cancer to travel to. And so that was one where, they weren't certain about, they weren't super concerned due to the size being fairly small. So that wasn't a huge concern. But then the next time around, we were driving into the appointment, and we get the report from the radiologist analyzing the CT scan. And at the bottom of the scan, it just shows impressions, right? Where they basically summarize everything that they had detailed up above into some just basic summary impressions. And on there, it said that there was something on my bone, my hip bone, and it was suspicious for metastatic disease. So the radiologist in that moment detailing on the report that there is something that is very suspicious for metastatic disease. So we get this on our way into Huntsman. At that point, it's like, oh man, like, this is pretty definitive. Like, it's back. We got to do something. And we're probably gonna have to start chemotherapy now. And so we get to the appointment, and our doctor kind of backed us up a little bit. And it's like, let's not be too hasty here.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of things that this could be, although the radiologist is saying that there is suspicions of metastatic disease given your history. Let's not do anything yet. And we're going to just do scans again in a month or two. And so that whole time, we had a little bit of comfort knowing, okay, this isn't for sure something bad. But then we go again and we wait for a month or two, get a second round of scans. And really the hope was that this had not grown. That's really what they were trying to determine. Just like with the lymph nodes, if there was no change in size, there was comfort that it was something other than cancer. So 2 months later, we go back, and luckily it was exactly the same size and has remained the same size on every single subsequent scan. Amazing. So yeah, it's been 4 months since the December scan, just had scans, and everything is looking just fine.
So is that what qualifies you as being in remission, is nothing's growing?
Yep. There's no current sign of there being cancer. And they hesitate to use the word cancer-free.
Right.
Because for the first 2 years, especially with testicular cancer, you're at a higher risk for recurrence. If it's going to come back, it most likely will come back in the first 2 years. But they start using the term cancer-free at the 5-year mark.
Okay.
And so we are at the point where we can utilize the term remission, which is fantastic. Not cancer free yet, but on a good trajectory.
I'm so happy for you
it's
guys.
behind us, huh?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
Hopefully.
really hope.
Seriously, I like we said with your dad passing, how you guys have been a community for your mom and there to help her. I'm sure going through this, you guys needed a lot of help. You have 3 kids. Like, who was your community? Like, who showed up for you guys during all of this? Because that's a lot to go through.
Oh my gosh, people were so good to us. Not only just like followers, people on social media, but like ward members, neighbors, friends, family. Like I don't think we've ever felt more loved in our life than we did during that time. It just like you don't even realize how many people care about you until you go through something like that. But people showed up for us and we're so grateful. We could not have done it without them.
I'm so glad you had that.
Yeah. Very lucky.
I'm sure a lot of people listening have someone in their life that's going through cancer. How can they show up for people? Like, what were certain things that people did that really stood out where you were like, I didn't even know I needed that, but I needed that?
Yeah, we are not good at asking for help.
Yeah.
And we're not even good, like, if people, like, ask, what can we do to help? Oh, nothing, we're good, you know? So just doing it anyway, thinking of ways to serve, showing up with, like, a meal. For me, I wanted to be at every single appointment to, like, be there for Trevor. And that was really hard with 3 young kids. So, like, people offered to watch our kids. Like, that was a huge one. What would you say?
Honestly, I had quite a few people just ask how I was doing, which actually meant a lot as well. I mean, something so simple. And in some circumstances, you know, there's a sensitive subject and maybe they're getting bombarded with that. But for me, I felt like people really cared when they would ask, you know, or at least just say, like, we're thinking about you, right?
Yeah.
Like, we are aware of what you're going through and we're thinking about you. But I also would echo what Matt said. I mean, even in our marriage, Matt is one to say, we don't need help. Like, I can take care of this. And so sometimes the best way is just to do it or to not give her an option. It's like, this is what we're doing. Like, I'm going to bring you dinner. Just tell me what time to drop it off. It's not a question of if, it's just a function of when.
Yeah.
And we had countless people that were so willing to do that. And like Matt said, show up for us in a big way.
I do feel like I'm having a stroke. Okay. I do feel like often people will text and be like, if you ever need anything.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a cop out because it's like that person's never going to be like, hey, I actually do need you to help clean my house or I do need you to mow my lawn, you know, like you just got to do it. Like doing it is way more helpful than just saying, if you ever need anything, because the people who are going through something, they're not going to ask.
No.
And you guys are proof of that. Like, you're like, we don't need help, but people showed up for you.
Yeah. And I feel like building the relationship helps too. Because obviously you're going to know how to serve someone better if you have a relationship with them first. So just like getting to know them and knowing what they need without them asking. Yeah. Which is hard. It's really hard to break the ice and like to get to that point. But I think that's huge.
It is. Speaking on family, you guys have your 3 kids. You've posted about how if you wanted more kids, you would have to go through IVF. So when did you find that out?
Yeah.
Gosh, that's like a loaded question.
Yeah. That was a complicated journey.
Yes.
This is part of the problem with the RPL&D surgery.
Gotcha.
With chemotherapy, there's a lot of adverse side effects. I mean, as part of chemotherapy, there's also, hey, you may not be able to have kids, but with the RPL&D surgery, that's also one of it's not always every time, but depending on where the cancer grows in your lymph nodes, it can interfere with nerves that facilitate, childbirth, right? And so as part of that, they had to sever some nerves as part of the RPL&D surgery. And at first, we didn't think it was very likely.
They told us it was a very slim chance. And that period of time was so chaotic for us that I was like, oh, we don't need a sperm bank, like if we do the surgery. But if we do chemo, we for sure will. But like, the surgery, it's like a very slim chance that we would need to do that. And that's just like one more thing in our chaotic life right now. Like, let's just not do it if we're going to go the surgery route.
So you guys didn't freeze any sperm?
It was on us for sure. I'm not trying to blame anyone, but I feel like we were like a little bit misled in the way that
a little naive that like,
yes.
it'll be fine.
Oh, it'll be fine. Like it's a very slim chance. And then I was just like, well, we don't even know if we want more kids. We have 3 kids. We'll be good. Like it's not going to affect it. Let's just not do it. So definitely on us. But yeah, it was worse than they thought. They said that there was like cancer wrapping around like all the nerves that lead to ejaculation. And so they had to sever them all. And yeah, that was actually a big bummer when he woke up from surgery and we heard that news. That was pretty sad.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, we have a very full family, right?
Yeah,
we are
totally.
so thankful for our 3 kids
Totally.
and
but it's the knowing that you
empathize.
can't now.
Yes, it is.
It's that, that option is now
Yes.
changed.
Yep.
100%.
That's a hard feeling to swallow. Like,
Yeah.
even
Yes.
if you want it,
Mhm.
it's not going to happen
Yes.
Right.
the way that you want it to.
Yeah,
Totally.
exactly.
So yeah, my number was always 4 to 5. I feel like I always wanted 4 to 5, and he always wanted 3 to 4, right?
Mhm.
So then I just I kept telling people when I was pregnant with my last, like, this might be our last baby. This might be our last baby. But never in my head did I like actually believe it. But I just
Yeah.
thought that was interesting that I kept like saying that, like, oh, I think this might be our last. But deep down I was like, oh no, we'll have more. But then I feel like it was kind of prepping me for like maybe accepting the fact that it was our last.
Do you feel like you guys have completed your family?
Some days.
Yeah.
Most of the time, yes. I mean, I just barely had a new nephew, and like holding him, I'm like, oh, we need another one. But I feel like I'm 70% yes, we're complete. But there are those days that I'm just like, oh, but we like another baby, right? I don't know. How do you feel?
Yeah, I would say similar. I mean, like Matt said, I was always kind of in the 3, maybe 4 camp.
Yeah.
And so even after 3, I was this could be our last kid,
Yeah.
and we could be a full family at this point. But yeah, there still is that thought every once in a while that, okay, we probably could do one more kid. But yeah, it's just a little bit more complicated. Luckily, we
Yeah.
still have the option to. I mean,
Yeah.
modern medicine and IVF, it's amazing that it can enable that.
Totally.
It does make things more complicated, but at least the option is still there.
Totally. It's
No,
just funny because I feel like I was always the one pushing for more kids. And then I finally was like, okay, we should be at 3. And then the other day, Trevor's like, well, maybe we could have more. And I'm like, wait, what? You're
Well,
the one pushing for it.
It's so hard to close that
a hard door to
story,
close.
It's
that chapter.
It's hard. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in a very different boat. Like, I probably could conceive without IVF, and I have 3, and I still am like, I don't know.
Mhm.
Do I not? It's no matter how many kids you have, it's a hard thing to close, especially when you see babies and you get baby hungry.
Yes.
That's what tricks you into having more
Totally.
babies.
That's
Yes.
because you forget all the bad things.
And you're like, oh, it's so
And
cute.
then you're like, they're just so precious.
I
So tiny. And little
know.
newborn cuddles are the best thing in the world.
They really are.
Yeah.
They really are. So when's your next scan?
So 4 months from now.
4 months from now.
Yep. And then we'll do that for the first 2 years.
Okay.
So for the next 14 months or so. And then we'll jump to every 6 months. And we'll probably do that for quite a while. I mean, now that I've had testicular cancer once, I'm at a much higher risk to get it again.
Is it genetic?
I didn't have any, there's no history in my
There's no history in
family
your
of
family.
testicular cancer.
Okay.
So
Hoping
do
it doesn't
scans.
come back in the other one.
I know I got to hold on to the one I've got. So
You got to keep that one ball.
I know.
Okay?
Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. Well, you guys are so positive and happy, and you guys have such a light about you, and you can see that through your social media. Like, you guys really are such Christ-like, beautiful people, and I'm just glad
you.
that you're in a good spot right now, and that you are in remission, and that I hope every scan comes back clean, and that one day you can use cancer-free terms.
Yes.
And I mean, you guys really are very inspiring, because I do think there's a lot of people who walk in the same situation as you guys, where one of the loved ones is struggling with whether it's cancer or any other diagnosis, and just showing that you show up for each other every day and you guys love each other and choose each other. That's really beautiful. And you guys should be very proud of your guys' relationship,
Well, thank you.
They're so nice.
because it's very beautiful. So thank you for letting me dumpster deep dive it.
Of course.
But
Thank
before you
you.
leave, we'll have Maddie do the honors. You're going to pick a topic from this
Ooh.
little trash can, the TRASHTOPICAN, and we're
Okay.
all going to answer it, whatever it
right.
is.
Love it. Did I pick a good one?
I sure hope so.
Hopefully you can read my handwriting.
Oh, dream place to visit.
Ooh, this is a good one because you guys have been
That's a
to a
really
lot
good
of
one.
places.
It is a good one.
I feel like that one's so easy for me. I bet you could guess.
Of course, it's Bora Bora.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's mine
course,
too.
right?
Bora Bora. It's so
So
expensive,
so
but
It is so expensive.
and getting there is so difficult.
Yes.
But getting to the Philippines is probably really
Yeah.
hard too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a 24-hour travel experience.
Yeah.
And the time difference is 14 or 15 hours. So it can be challenging. But we almost went to Bora Bora a while back. Maddie did all the research. She was like,
We looked up.
this is
all
what
the
we got to do.
prices.
And I was like, I don't think so. I mean, we can't put
Accountant. She's like,
we're not going to second mortgage our house for this
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah, no. I think Bora Bora should be like a cancer-free trip.
Hey,
so too.
that might be a good call.
I think that's a good one.
That is worth
Like our
celebrating.
10-year, I don't know. That's still 2 years away though. Maybe 8 year.
That's like this year.
Let's just tomorrow.
Yeah, why not?
I'm
Let's
always
just book
down. Sure.
Yeah. that is
Celebrate
so
being on the
funny.
podcast.
Yeah,
Like,
there
you go.
We've been on
Yes.
Weekly Trash. Let's go to Bora
You
Bora.
got to celebrate
Yeah.
the wins.
Yeah, exactly. This is huge.
Yeah, it is huge.
What about you?
Oh, I absolutely love the Philippines. So this may
Okay.
be kind of a cop out because we've already been there.
Yeah.
But I would say if it was anywhere, I would choose the Philippines because there are so many beautiful places that we have not seen yet.
Okay.
With
And-
kids or without.
Absolutely without kids. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
It's,
The 24-hour travel day
That'd be
with
too
3
much for
kids
them.
doesn't sound
oh,
appealing.
that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would probably say the Philippines would be number one. But our bucket list of places to go is pretty long. I would add a place I've never been to. I probably would pick Bora Bora as well.
Let's go.
I mean, that doesn't mean we're
going.
gonna go right now, but one day
Down the
we will go.
road, it's on the bucket list.
Yes.
It's happening.
You guys see us there.
I can't wait to see you guys there. It's going to be beautiful.
gonna be
It's gonna be
great.
beautiful. Well, you guys, thank you so much for coming. I know that you guys had a busy day, so it means a lot. And
Happy to be here.
I loved getting to know you guys more. This was so
Yeah,
fun.
thank you so much.
So fun. Thanks for having us.
All right, guys, that is it for today's episode. I hope you guys have a good one. And don't forget to take out your trash. Bye.